Hello and welcome to the AI Revolution Call. I'm Cody Willard, 10,000 Days hedge fund manager guy. It's Bryce Smith, my partner at 10,000 Days. Craig Delaune also works with me at 10,000 Days. We invest in technology like AI. Long before that, years ago, we invested in smartphones. Before that, internet. John D. Oliveira has been working in AI for 30 years. I'm not making that up. I know every time I introduce John, I say I'm not making that up. But that's because most people didn't know AI existed 30 years ago. The only reason I knew it existed is, you guys remember, what was the TRS-80 application that you could talk to? It was like a psychiatrist.
You mean like Eliza?
Eliza. Thank you. I was trying to say Alexa, and I knew that wasn't it. Yeah, Eliza. I mean, that wasn't AI. It was a reasonable prompt precursor to AI. But John in '96 actually left Albuquerque, moved to Austin to work for what at the time was probably the leading AI company, private company in the world, I would think, John, or at least top 5 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
The legendary Doug Lenat.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome. Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. If you're watching, we love to have comments, snarky or not. Try not to be rude. But questions or comments, you can throw it on, and I think it'll show up through our feed. I think pretty much every week, as long as it's working, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on X. Yeah. One of these days, if we really wanted to do, get better distribution, we should probably figure out how to turn this into a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. None of the three of us don't have the bandwidth. John doesn't have the bandwidth, and I don't mean the internet bandwidth. I mean the time bandwidth. At any rate, let's talk AI. John, Bryce, and I want to do something first, and then I want to talk about Llama, DeepSeek, and some of the models that are out there and just sort of competition around it. I've got some comments and thoughts on that, and some questions I've got. Craig, we lost your light. That you got to keep that, whatever that white screen.
Oh, sorry.
You have to leave it on the white screen.
Okay.
We throw around terms like LLM, agentic AI, and things like that. And if we were on my show on Fox, Happy Hour, God rest its soul, that show had soul. We had a tip jar on the bar, and if the guest used a term that jargon, they had to throw money. Real guests would throw a 20. Some people would throw a 5. A few people throw 1s, but you had to throw money in the tip jar. And I think that I was just thinking about it today. Let's not use jargon. If we talk about an LLM, let's say large language model. If we say agentic AI, I mean, maybe we should even just explain it quickly, because one of the things that when we traveled the world, I don't know, we got back 3 or 4 weeks ago from a 3-week trip around the world, and it was shocking to me how little most people use AI, much less are immersed in it, much less study it. And I'm a hedge fund manager who invests in technology, so of course I'm immersed in it and studying it. But you start taking it for granted, and it's one of the reasons you can end up living in a bubble if you just forget the perspective of most of the world. And it is the fact that when I say it's the dial-up internet phase of the AI revolution, I remember asking my mom and dad, "Did you get my email?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I forgot to check this week." And you're like, "Mom, I live on email." But this was 98, 99, right? I remember pulling a laptop computer and dialing up on AOL and showing my friend that you could go to websites. And he was like, "Can you see boobs?" And I'm like, "Yes." You can go to playboy.com and stuff. You could even just search for boobs. And you fast forward to today, and it's been 25 years since then, and I think everybody on the planet knows that you can see boobs on the internet. And so that's where we're at. We're at the stage that people don't know that there's even and I haven't used them. Like you can have like a personality talk to you constantly, and it could be a sexy personality. And ChatGPT last week was like, yeah, we're going to let people do erotica. And so it is just so early in this. And I think when we do these AI calls, we tend to just sort of think that the people listening, and that even just, and we're not necessarily even doing this for an audience. I mean, we're doing it so that we could, the impetus behind doing the AI Revolution call on Mondays was because I have a friend who's been working in the industry for 30 years, and I'm trying to study the industry to figure out how best to invest in it. And so that's great. But if we're going to bother doing this, we should remember the audience. We should remember that we don't want to just throw around jargon and AI terms and assume that the people watching have any idea what we're even saying.
Cody,
yeah.
I thought was funny about what you said there was that like LLM is jargon, so we're going to spell it out, large language model. And I'm thinking,
as if that helps at all.
Yeah, right. Like, still, I don't know what the heck that is, but it's like, I remember that quote. What is it? Teaching is remembering what it's like not to know.
Nice.
And
your father was a teacher, longtime educator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you and this might have been a Feynman line or something. Richard Feynman, famous as much for being a teacher as for being
right. He's as famous as much for his professorship as his theories and philosophy.
Yeah. Right. So, you go large language model. What's that? And for us ourselves to make sure we understand and aren't glossing over and just going and saying words on top of other words, it's good for us to step back and, if we have to go and make sure in as brief a way as we can that we can get across what this thing is we're talking about, then it helps make sure that we even really understand it ourselves. Because if we can't, maybe we don't.
Another saying, I have no idea who said this or if it's even attributable to anyone, but it's like you have to know a topic to truly teach it. And again, we're not necessarily trying to teach the people watching about AI, but we are certainly trying to teach ourselves about AI. And as you just said, John, that it entails it requires us not just glossing over quickly concepts, terms, stacks, layers of the AI and how it works, and just sort of knowing it. And so with that, I wanted to say that out loud and sort of talk about that a little bit, but let's jump into the AI call. What I do want to talk about for the topic today is Llama, which, by the way, I am sure it's not a coincidence that it has LLM in the word llama very directly. It is an LLM. It is Meta's LLM, Meta, formerly called Facebook. They would these days should probably change their name to Llama instead of Meta, because they're all in on the AI revolution. Although they're still doing the metaverse, the artificial reality and augmented reality are still very much a focus for Meta. Point being, John, we don't hear. I was reading reports today talking about how to use AI, which AI to use depending upon your skill level, your requirements, what it is you're trying to do, etc. Bryce and I seem to read these reports quite a bit that rank the LLMs against each other, and one will leapfrog the next, but they're all sort of in the same universe. I found it interesting, though, in this article, there was nothing about Llama. It didn't mention Llama. It was like out of the top 35 LLMs it mentioned. Bryce, do you remember a couple of the names that we hadn't heard?
Z.
Yeah, ZI. There were DeepSeek, obviously, we know, but there were a few Chinese LLMs in this list. And I called Bryce. I'm like, what's going on with Llama? You never hear about Llama anymore. Seemed like they had a whole developer community that was not migrating, but coalescing around Llama 6 months ago, a year ago. It was the main open weight LLM, which meant that not completely open source, but open weight means that you had transparency on how the different weights were set inside of the LLM. And I like John's face because he's like, I'm not sure if Cody's explaining that right.
Not thinking about it. Like, I think open weight is open source. I think open weight is like as open source as they get. But I'm trying to think.
I went down the rabbit hole today and had Gemini teaching me about the differences between open weight and open LLM, open source.
Because what they're not doing is including all the sources that went into, like, you can't go and take what they did.
Actually, I think two major differences between open weight and open source. Open source allows you to actually see the data that the model was trained on, see how it was trained, transparency.
That's what I was.
Open weight does not allow you to see that.
Yeah.
Secondarily, you still can be an open weight application, LLM application, but you can have requirements about who can use it and where and how you can. And
that's more like, what's the license?
Correct. Yeah. But if you're going to put requirements around getting the license, is it truly open source? No.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So the rules, the rights on it, that's one thing. And the other being like just the whole, like, were you given total kind of the whole picture of what sources like books and whatever and data got used.
Or in Meta's case with Llama, they're not going to allow you to see all of the Meta, Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp discussions that it was trained on.
Right.
Those are internal data things that they're obviously not going to allow other people to use or see. So at any rate, John, your thoughts is I debated it with Gemini. I did some research, and after my initial impression that Llama is on the decline, I'm not sure that's true. What's going on with Llama Meta?
It's on the decline with me. So
really?
Just meaning that in our company, we were using Llama. We had to use whatever we use had to be open source or open weight, because it had to be that we weren't sending our data elsewhere, because we have software for banks and we can't go and kind of take their stuff and send it elsewhere. We have to pass all the security tests for any data that we get a hold of, that it stays with us and just is back to that one client. So we were using Llama. We recently, I guess about a month ago, we stopped and we switched to OpenAI, who put out an open source or open weight, I guess, model that we can run ourselves. We don't have to send anything to OpenAI to use it, and that's the one we're now using.
Two questions. Why would you make that decision, and how hard was it to switch over?
It was a couple of weeks work for somebody, but that has more to do with, how much code we have that depends on this stuff, because really the actual switch itself is like, you go into one little place where you've got your constant that's like, what path should it go to hit, and you change that out. And it's like, okay, now I'm on the other one. But then how it responds to things, and this is why we, switched, was we found that this other new one from OpenAI was even better at instruction following when it came to doing agent stuff. So when it's like, you tell it, hey, I've got this set of tools, which one should I use next? And it comes back and says, try this one, and it's basically, it's like this little loop that it goes. This is how agent stuff works. It gets in a loop where your code is going, tell me what to do next. Tell me what to do next. And you're each time telling it like what's available. I have these 50 different things that can be done. I can open a PDF file. I can, convert this to that. I can read stuff out of a spreadsheet, all these things that it can do. Oh, well, then use this one and do that. Use this one and do that. It's telling it what to do. And it did a better job of that. So, you know, we were less concerned about how good either one of them is at answering some question or whatever, because for the most part, we're using it for its, you know, English ability, you know, to call upon other data that we already have, because the answers are, for us, the answers are in our stuff. You know, we have all the answers around banking and the specific questions about procedures and things and regulations. You know, we're maintaining all of that, and for us, it's not about asking the AI to be smart. It's about asking it to be like a translator for finding the right things from what we have. You know.
All right, now how much over the last year? How much has that changed the? Like, are there people who lost jobs because you're using AI to be more, to do more stuff? How, like, are the people who work in the bank more efficient? Is the bank itself more efficient and less likely to be hacked? Or like, what is the reason you guys, like, what are you doing with AI?
So I think it's early to go look for all the effects, because they know that this is a real transformation that will have a big impact, but that it takes some time to get it going. And we've been just, you know, we're fairly new. We've, you know, maybe our first customer is 6 months ago or something. I might be a little off on that, but so getting them through using just different aspects of it, you know, it's more like they can see that it is just starting to save them time, will save them more time, let them be more efficient with what they're doing, and basically let them punch above their weight, because the little banks, these, you know, community banks, have to kind of live up to the same kind of regulation following that the big banks do, but the big banks have whole departments for doing that, and the little banks are, you know, struggle to do that. So it's kind of to do that for them.
It's interesting. It democratizes the banking and regulation side of that business for the smaller banks. John, 2 years from now, will the projects you're working on be transformational? Will they have revolutionized community banking regulation procedures?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. This was kind of the conversation that Andre Karpathy was having this week. Guy was formerly at OpenAI, at Tesla before that, but he's off on his own thing now. You know, it's funny. I thought of him as being like the Richard Feynman of our day, because he's really interested in the education side of things. And then right after I said that, it came up next in the talk that they kind of mentioned Feynman. But he's a kind of a soft takeoff guy, which is the thing about, like, will AI, the kind of effect it'll have on the world and everything, is it going to be like you wake up one day and just the world is different? That would be like fast takeoff or hard takeoff. And he's more like, it takes time for things to settle in and so forth. So he was just talking about this, you know, will it have that effect? Yes, it will, over time. So 2 years, I think, is a good kind of time frame to say.
That's why because you had said, and I think that goes back to my analogy of the dial-up internet phase, because we can see how AI will eventually enable us to wear meta glasses and get maps and talk and do all kinds of productive stuff. We can see that eventually you're just going to tell AI, take care of that. Like, what's my day like? Set me up. Where am I going? Eventually it'll even like have the Tesla cyber taxi waiting for you to take you to your meeting, and it'll, you know, the agent stuff, all of that stuff is going to revolutionize day-to-day interactions with data, spreadsheets, emails, calendars, human beings, all of it. It's going to get touched, and it just saves us so much time.
I was just thinking about how, you know, like, what's really slowing it down in a way? Why isn't it just this overnight thing? And it seems to me like right now it's more we're slowing it down. We, you know, people, because look, already they're fairly recent, it's the case that you can talk to anybody in the world in almost any language in real time, back and forth. That didn't exist, even last year or something. You can get on with somebody and literally, so I could have somebody Japanese here, and I could be speaking English, and everything I'm saying instantly being turned into Japanese and back. Why aren't people using that on a huge scale? You can go and take this conversation we're having right here and have it instantly turned into any language, and it would even like adjust the mouth and it looked like you're speaking now. Why isn't that happening on a large? It's already possible. So why isn't it happening?
It's just like people are slow to adopt. They're slow to start using stuff. Bureaucracy and legacy, backward-looking stuff inside of giant corporations and any giant group always slow the stuff. On an individual basis, I'm 53 years old and I want to be cutting edge tech, but my 10-year-old daughter takes my phone and shows me how to do shit on it now. Like, it's crazy how quickly. And then like Bryce lives in AI. I mean, I don't know. Bryce, you'll have to tell us what percentage of your day you're using AI. For me, it's like 5%. It's not that much. And I'm trying to be an early adopter, and it's still, it alone is not quite easy enough for me to just but the thing is, like, I still have to like figure out which program I have to use and where and when and log in and password and all the bullshit that goes into making computer stuff work. And that's a nightmare. I'm like, I'm just going to print this stuff out and read it. My printer is still my like superpower around here.
Like, but we talk about, the thing is, that it's what you just said. There's like, people take time to adopt things and so forth. And yet whenever this conversation is had, that's not what people are saying. The conversation is, when are the computers going to be smart enough to blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
that's right.
Dude,
no, that's exactly, John, that is exactly it. I mean, they really are. And then also the part that we always talk about, that until you can give a prompt and get a 30-minute video based on the prompt completely produced and distributed on the internet, it's still a very early stage of all this. Bryce, how much on a daily basis are you using AI? And then Craig, you're next.
I use it all day.
70, 80% of your day?
I mean, it's like asking you how much time do you spend in the browser? Like, or how much time do you spend, like, if back in the day, like in Microsoft Office, like, that just, to me, it's where I do work, basically.
Amazing. Craig?
I would have to say the same thing. I'm constantly looking at, you brought up jargon and different things like that when I'm doing research on different companies and different industries, especially with the new apps that's coming in with OpenAI. We've looked at a lot of different industries and just trying to figure out different jargons, different things, and what these companies are doing. And that I use AI all the time to kind of give me like just some information here and there as I go other places. I constantly have it running because I feel like if I don't have it running, looking something up, I'm being inefficient.
John, in some sense, it's translating for him in real time, right? Like, it's translating jargon to better standard English. John, how much do you use AI on a daily basis?
I mean, I question what all the time means as we talk about this, because it's like, what I do is I have this task that I'm doing that definitely involves AI. Like that task wouldn't happen if AI weren't part of that task. But how many times I'm hitting enter in ChatGPT or in Claude, or how many times?
Here's what I mean, John. Like, any task, let's divide what I do into like certain tasks. I do research, I do writing, I do organizational, administrative stuff, legal stuff. And in any of AI is somewhat competent in all of those areas. And if I'm doing any task within those areas, I'm talking to the AIs that I use about whatever I'm doing. And I think because of the value that they provide, even like in legal things, right? as not that it's drafting every email I send. I don't like it to write for me in the first instance, but I think it's negligent not to ask the AI to double check you, because it takes minimal effort to copy and paste what you've written into the AI, and like the potential for it to catch an error you've made, even if it's just a typo, in a professional setting, it does seem negligent to me to not like run everything you do through this thing that we're already paying for, that takes 5 seconds to copy and paste into and use it that way. So when I say I use it all the time, it's like I'm not just literally talking to ChatGPT all day, but in every task I do basically use it, and in research and everything.
Gemini and ChatGPT.
I use both.
I use Claude.
I mean, for work, it's mostly Gemini.
I'm mostly in Claude now, and I think it's got some features that OpenAI needs to catch up to be doing. Like, just came out with skills last week, and it's like being able to build this little library of like instructions and like, hey, whenever this comes up, do it like this, and combinations of just stuff in English or a little script if I want, which it can even write, but it's that kind of thing where it's staying on the edge, so that when you are like doing what you're talking about, where like, you're involving it in what you're doing, it's getting that to be more and more part of the workflow, where it's not in the workflow. It's like you and it are both like having the workflow come by, and it's paying attention to everything.
Again, this is when we compare the different, whether I'm using Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever one you want to talk, DeepSeek, etc. And when you even like, I don't pay much attention when the new rankings of this stuff come out, because it reminds me of like in 1998 reading about rankings of search engines and being like, which search engine gets you the best results? And meanwhile, Google was in a garage, not even released yet, and it killed them all. Another example, I remember on the Windows Phone, after the iPhone and Android were already in the markets, Windows big, at one point, their big leapfrog forward was any picture you took on a Windows phone was automatically stored on the cloud, and you could retrieve it later. And it was like, I literally did switch to Windows for a minute. It was such a bad experience. It didn't last long, but I was like, that sounds amazing. And of course, now like these kids on the call with us, John, don't even know that there was a time that when you took pictures, you couldn't go back and look at them later if you switched phones. Like, it was literally stored on your phone, and you'd have to delete photos and stuff. And so like, that is where the stage we're at. We're at the stage where where Claude might have this one thing that they're doing where it's a little bit better than the others, but in 3 years from now, that'll be archaic too. It'll be silly that you'll be like, you remember when like Claude rolled out skills? That was a funny thing. And now like we all just talk to AI and it does whatever we want, however we want. You don't even have to log in.
So one thing in terms of where we are right now, I think I don't know if we're pre-Google in a sense, but we are starting to see some things about the thing we use, what it will be like, whether it's OpenAI putting it out or somebody else, and that is, it's not going to just be chat. It's not going to, it's going to be the new operating system. It's going to be where you do, and like Bryce already treats it like that. He said, it's like he mentioned the browser. Well, the browser was the new operating system. The browser made Windows irrelevant. And why did it make Windows irrelevant? Because it was the new operating system. It's
right. You have things happen. Everything, almost everything on a Chromebook that you could possibly do on a Windows machine because you're doing 99% of it on a browser. The golf simulator program in my office, which, by the way, randomly stopped working last week after 3.5 years of my addiction being fueled by it. I've got a guy coming this week to try to fix it. But like that, other than that, like you really do, like our hedge fund trading programs run on Windows, and they're archaic too. Even the programs that we use, they're archaic. They're like, they literally feel like 2003. And so Bryce has long said that Windows from Microsoft is at bigger threat of being displaced by AI than Google search. And I've agreed with him since the first day he said that, because I think it makes a lot of sense that Meta glasses and other form factors are going to allow you to interface with your AI agents and or whatever else you're talking to. And the operating system itself just becomes ever less important. Another example would be, I've got a Samsung TV right there, and it's playing YouTube TV or Prime Video or whatever it is. Their operating system is not Windows and it's not iOS, yet all of the applications that want to have people watch videos developed an app for that operating system. So the more form factors you get, including Meta glasses, I'm using that one because it's the most front and center, timely one. We're going to Dallas on Friday, the three of us, not including John, because we want to demo the Meta display glasses, the version 3 that they just rolled out. And you can only buy them if you go demo them first. And there's nowhere in New Mexico or West Texas that has a place that we can demo them. So it was either Phoenix, Austin, or Dallas that were closest to us. And we're flying from El Paso to Dallas on Friday to go check them out and hopefully purchase them. If not, we will put in an order and get them shipped to us as quickly as they can be produced. But that example is here and front and center right now. And it is not on an iOS, it's not on a Windows. Tesla is another example. The operating system inside of the Tesla has YouTube. It's got Disney. Well, they took Disney Plus off when Elon had a fight with the CEO over there.
It must be on a kind of
Linux. Got apps purpose-built for the Tesla operating system. There's always the talk that Elon's even said at some point he hopes he doesn't have to build his own phone, but they might not build their own phone, but the operating system in the Tesla car will be the operating system in the Tesla robots, and you'll probably interface with them from Meta glasses or from an Android phone or from an iPhone or from a computer or from some other wearable device that you talk to that contains your AI and is logged into all those devices and cars and robots and everything else.
And it's these purpose-built things. And the first example was your television that can have their own, what seems like proprietary operating system, which is actually Linux. I believe.
Yes, exactly.
But that's the thing that lets them go, and it's open source, so it's the one that lets them go and do what they want.
John, why is Linux not a household word? Like, it was truly without Linux, Windows, Mac, Tesla, would iOS and Android exist without Linux?
Well, Linux, they came first. Linux came second, but Unix became...
okay, Unix is the one Exactly. How the hell do I not know I should be saying Unix instead of Linux? Unix is one of the most important kernels in the stack that everything has been built upon.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that get more credit?
Yeah, it does among us nerds, but it's never made it as a mainstream operating system, kind of the thing people put in front of them. It exists. You can get a laptop.
Linux was around in the early 2000s because Red Hat was reselling Linux. So yes. Android and iOS were not before Linux.
Android is Linux. Android is Linux. iOS was built after was built after. The other version of, what do you call it, was on the Next computer, which was what Steve Jobs made before coming back to Apple. It ran.
It became that operating system on Next became the Mac operating system at one point, right, John?
Yeah, and it was like essentially, it doesn't matter. It was essentially Linux. Unix became Linux. Linux came around, I don't know, 1980 or something like that.
Imagine these days, Unix would be like some sort of intellectual property pirate, like squatter, and it would be like getting payments from every operating system device that was ever sold. It'd be like the ARM Holdings is in the semiconductor industry, and it would probably be a $2 or $3 trillion business. And I'll go further: Google, Apple, Microsoft would actually not have the market caps they have because they'd be paying a tax to the Unix IP every time.
Right. And there's similar, I mean, there's things like the Java programming language, which, you know, did get bought, was owned in a sense by Sun, which got bought by Oracle, which got like, so some of that stuff was supposed to be open source, but then got controlled. Or GitHub, which got bought by Microsoft.
OpenAI, anybody? OpenAI supposed to be open source and then got controlled. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, big example. Anyway, yeah. So I thought for a long time about, you know, why hasn't Linux made it? Because, you know, Apple has had the best desktop, laptop operating system for a long time. It's just the best experience you can have using one of these things. But then it starts to annoy me as well. And I'm like, you know, I want more of the freedom. You know, it's why I still use like an Android phone instead of an Apple phone. Is you get more control. You go into settings and you can do what you want, as opposed to it saying, no, it works like this. You know, an iPhone always pisses me off because it's like the people who use it are the ones who let their battery run to zero. They just, you know, it's different type of person.
Craig, how much juice do you have on your phone right now? Bryce, how much juice do you have on your phone? John, how much juice do you have on your phone? Quick poll.
No. When's the last time you let your phone run to zero is the question.
Last night.
Right?
Last night.
Yeah, last night. Mine's at 62.
I have 79.
Craig?
Yesterday, I have 58% on my phone, but yesterday.
But it ran down yesterday.
Huh?
You see?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and I was enjoying it, and right before
what is it with iPhone users that can't manage their batteries?
I'm at 18% on my way to zero.
You know, it's funny.
Busy.
You know, it's funny you say that, John, because I'm actually in the market for a phone, and I was going to get a Google phone, and I was telling my family, you know, network effects are a real thing, because I was telling my family, you know, I really like the Google phone. We use Google at work all the time, so I think I'm going to do it. And the uproar in
they're like, how am I supposed to FaceTime with you?
Yeah,
right?
Bryce, that is the most annoying part of your transition from Apple to Google on the smartphone in the last month or so since you did it. Is I occasionally be like, hey Siri, FaceTime Bryce.
I've created a FaceTime link with the message join my FaceTime. Send it to Bryce.
No, forget it.
You see what it's like in the other direction. When I'm in a text message chain, and then you know, I send somebody some picture, and then I get back loved an image. Like, it doesn't show me the same way where you guys see it, where it'll mark it right on the image. It says loved an image, or laughed at a quote. You know,
John, do you remember when you could not open a WordPerfect document on a Windows machine, and you couldn't open a Word document on a Mac?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I remember that.
These kids don't know about this stuff.
Oh, I do.
So relating this to AI, see, we're going through this same thing over and over again.
What I'm getting at,
history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And right now it's rhyming with all these times we've gone through this crap before, and where it looks like, oh, it's this amazing new thing that lets you do all this stuff. And it is amazing. But it has
But then
to
it
get,
doesn't happen as fast as everybody wanted it to.
because it does happen as fast. People don't happen as fast.
That's right. So if you're watching this and want to learn more about some of these concepts, I've had Bryce and Craig both read this book over the years, and more than once. Well, for Bryce, and Craig just read it recently, and he's now about to write a report on it that we'll probably share with Trading with Cody, and we'll send it out to the free list. Hey, by the way, Craig, we still got to start sending stuff to the free list. This has been a discussion now for 3 weeks in a row. We haven't sent one yet, so don't let us forget. But it's called Information Rules. Hal Varian, and I don't remember the other author's name. Hal Varian was a MIT professor for many years, and then he became chief technology strategist or something at Google for a long time. I don't think he's there anymore either. The book was probably written in '96, but it is a fascinating look at the concepts of how you can get locked into ecosystems, how that creates switching costs to go to another ecosystem, how standards get built, how standards that are open source are different from standards that become proprietary, and just
Carl
sort of
Shapiro.
What's that, John?
Carl Shapiro.
That was it.
And Hal Varian.
Poor Carl. I don't think he ever gets any credit. People just remember Hal Varian. But yeah, it's a great book. I encourage everyone to read it if you're interested in investing and or just learning about technology principles and business models, because that's really.
Now you can take that book, you can load it into Google Notebook LM, take a PDF of it, and you can wait a few minutes and get back a custom built podcast of two people talking to each other about that book. You can load it into ChatGPT and ask any question about what it says in the book, summarize.
John, you can do that, but I would like to interject there. Where do you get a PDF of a book like that? Like, I actually had that thought today when I called Craig, and I was like, Craig, you ought to write a report. It'd be good practice for your writing skills, because these concepts are really going to be integral to everything we analyze and look at. And I want you to sort of, have this, I want you to immerse yourself in the concepts from that Information Rules book. And then I was like, he could totally just do that if he uploaded a PDF, and then we could all have a discussion and have I could even ask the thought I had.
I found it in one Google search.
What did you say?
I'm looking at it. I'm reading it right now. I was going to say.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Because it's there's a publisher that I would think wouldn't want that out there.
Really? Then what do you think OpenAI did when they created their model, or every other, or Llama, or everybody else?
I didn't think every book would have a PDF.
You can damn near find any book.
Every book has a PDF.
Elon Musk, Walter Isaacson, Elon Musk biography the other day. I was looking
every single book, pretty much 99%.
All right,
and all the
corrected. All I was going to say was I would like to not have to find that. I would like to just be able to ask Gemini to go do that itself. Create me an LLM that only talks about that book, find the PDF, and then create me a notebook podcast out of it too. And what are we, probably 6 weeks from that happening, John? 6 months? It's coming.
It could do it now, I think.
It doesn't do it now.
Well, then you're using the wrong one. I mean, Claude versus Gemini. We were just saying these things are leapfrogging each other. But it's like the important thing to kind of pull from what you're saying right there, though, is a good thing to understand about these large language models, is that they don't know that whole book. They it's like you described it correctly, but I'm just kind of emphasizing the fact that it's like you can't just say, hey, Gemini, tell me about this book and this quote from it and this chapter and so forth, because it may have come across the book and processed through the book as part of it building itself, but it didn't end up with that entire book in it. And so it's a combination of.
John, is there enough memory in the world in 5 or 10 years in the computer data centers that are zooming around in orbit and on ships and in the desert and the Gobi Desert and everywhere else, will there be enough memory that one of the LLMs will literally have will have it all stored inside of it, and I'll be like,
No.
hey, when I talk to you, only talk about that PDF you've got stored in there already?
No. Well, because that's not how LLMs work or are built, and they don't intend for them to work or be built that way. What makes them smart is the compression, is the taking out and abstracting. So, but we were talking about how, ChatGPT or whatever it is becomes the new operating system. And as such, you stop talking about the LLM and you start talking about the whole system that you're logging into and using. Will that have it? Yes. And I think it could be very, very soon, because it's not about it having enough memory to have it. It's about it having the right way to
access it all.
Yeah. And so it's get in there, ask the question, go after the right place, grab in what you need, answer it. That's like the AI OS. And that is what is where we're heading and where we're starting to be.
John,
The
do you
AI
think
operating
the Chat and Gemini and Claude are apps, and then there are models underneath them, right? Do you think the current chatbot app things, if you want to call them that, are that OS level, or is there is it going to be something different? Will OpenAI come up with? I mean, I know they're working on hardware and things, but do you think that ChatGPT is the OS, that Gemini is the OS?
No, I think it's the kernel. So an OS has a little small, smart piece in the middle, and then all this stuff around it. And like Linux has a kernel. And this is a different kind of kernel, but now what we call this LLM, the model, et cetera, becomes that inner piece. And the way that even it was I think Karpathy, Andrei Karpathy, who described it this way maybe last year, was, how in a computer, you have an instruction set, and then it goes and it asks, it tells the CPU to do something.
Right.
And every little time it's this one little atomic operation, like go get that byte out of memory and put it into the CPU chip. Now go do this with it and move it over here and change it to that. Every little one of those is an instruction. And now these chips run 1 billion instructions per second, right? So that is the loop that a traditional computer goes through. Now think of that kind of loop happening, except it's every call to the model is one of those. And still that's at the internal piece of it. And around it is all that infrastructure to support agents and reinforcement learning and different models talking to each other and things getting read from and written to a file system, and a virtual machine, which looks like your own machine there, but is the one that's just the playground for the AI itself to do stuff to, and to go look up the restaurant you want to eat at and make a reservation for you. So it builds up like that. It ends up with this new kind of kernel, and it becomes this new environment that you operate with.
This guy is not artificial nor intelligent, but he's a very good boy.
He's very intelligent. Computers wish they were as intelligent.
Maybe they wish they were as intelligent as some dogs. I don't know about this particular boy.
And he's conscious, which computers aren't, won't be.
Yeah. So. All right, last words, fellas. What do we got? Craig, you're first. You're the newbie.
All right, I'll go first.
Throwing you under the bus first. Go.
Oh, it's all good. I read an article today that I live to see the age of flying cars, which I'm very excited about. And the Black Fly, I believe the name was, the Wall Street Journal guy flew in there, and I was watching it, and it reminded me something of Star Wars, and I just got so excited. So I'm hoping that we see more of that in the future.
Was it like a quadcopter on the inside?
Yeah, it is kind of like it's got 2 front, 2 in the back, but there was a bunch of rotors behind him. Like I would say, like there was at least 4 or 6 of them. And the way it launches is like almost vertical and then comes down. And and I think I don't know if it's for sale right now. I can't quite remember, but it gave me hope for the future that I'll have my own land speeder soon.
I want the binoculars that Luke used and
to check out the banthas.
Yeah. What are they called?
The binoculars to check out the banthas.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bryce, last word.
I sent this article to Craig today. It's Mark Andreessen, Why Software is Eating the World. It's from 2011. And it's really, I've read it before, but it's really good. And you can sort of replace the word software with AI. And it's still true today. And it's just funny. This is 2011. And he's like, the dot-com bubble was only 10 years ago. And with scars of the heyday of WebM, Pets.com, still fresh in investor psyche, people are asking, isn't this just a dangerous new bubble? In 2011, he's arguing with people about software being in a bubble. And Facebook and Twitter are sparking controversy in Silicon Valley due to their rapidly growing private market valuations.
Sound familiar?
Man, those people. And nowadays, all we do is argue with people about AI is a bubble. And so he's like, I, along with others, have been arguing the other side of the case. He has to explain who he is, which also shows what a different time today is. If you are a tech investor, everybody knows who Mark Andreessen is. He says, we believe that many of the prominent new internet companies are building real high growth, high margin, defensible businesses. In the end, and this is what I like the best, is he's like, instead of constantly questioning their valuations, let's seek to understand how the new generation of tech companies are doing what they do, what the broader consequences are for businesses and the economy, and what we can collectively do to expand the number of innovative new software companies created in the U.S. and around the world. That's the big opportunity. I know where I'm putting my money. I just like. I think it's intellectually lazy to just sit around and look at pull up an anecdote of your favorite anecdote and be like, yeah, we're in a bubble. That's period. That's the end of the discussion. Like, for a lot of investors and people they think AI is silly or they think it's stupid. Like I was watching a video on Twitter today, this guy just riffing about how dumb AI is and how it's all going to blow up. And this is not only is it the dot-com bubble, it's 10 times worse than the dot-com bubble. It's an order of magnitude, you could have gone back at any point in the last 15 years and made a lot of those same arguments, and you missed out on historic wealth creation, and also you sound like an idiot. And so it's funny, it sounds smart in the present to have this crazy argument about how AI, we're in a bubble, but in 10 years you might end up looking like the fool.
I bet I've written 30 articles in the last 15 years that have repeatedly pointed out that we're not in a bubble, that we could be going into a bubble eventually. And, I did call a blow off top at the top of the COVID bubble, which I think we had a bubble. Nobody can really argue that. And we had a crash after that was derailed. The crash was derailed by the ChatGPT moment, of course. I don't want to pretend that there's not bubbleliciousness in the market. I think a lot of the quantum stocks, a lot of the theme stocks, a lot of the AI stocks that are worth tens of billions of dollars right now are probably going to be worth zero at some point. But that doesn't mean that the AI that's being created isn't about to revolutionize the world. And it doesn't mean that we don't want to have our buckets out in front of the companies that are building the platforms and applications and robots that use the AI. And because if and when they do impact the economy and society as they're starting to, and actually gets to a point where they're being used by 80% of the world regularly with agents and robots and everything else using that stuff, it's worth tens of trillions of dollars. There will be companies worth tens of trillions of dollars, and we need to be in front of
what I'm saying, Cody. Most conversations today start and end with a bubble. We're in a bubble. Therefore, I'm not doing anything, and that's dumb and stupid. Like, that's what Mark Andreessen is saying. He's like, let's why are we sitting around arguing about valuations? Let's understand these tech companies and then go look at their valuations. And if they're attractively valued based on what you think they're doing, then invest in them. But like, it's so much more honest to have that conversation and go through the rigor, like apply the intellectual rigor that you need to understand the businesses and which ones are, attractively valued and which ones are bubbled up and you shouldn't avoid. Like that's a fair discussion to have, but most of like mainstream financial news today is like everything's in a bubble. Everything's in a bubble. That's it.
And Bryce, your point's dead on. That it's like the S&P 500 is trading at a 23 or 24 PE. That's high. It should. Like historically, that's high. Maybe it's discounting that margins are going to expand with AI usage and robots over the next 5 to 10 years. And the market could start trading at a 25 to 30 PE 5 years from now. That's not the discussion. That's a discussion that you and I try not to have that discussion every day.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the markets? I might say that to you once a month. We want to understand the companies that we invest in, both long or short, and we want to understand their valuations. And that's why we do the rigor of modeling out 5, 10, and even 15 years of what we expect the companies to look like and how their revenues, margins. Hopefully there's an inflection point that comes along like NVIDIA had when the AI hit. And so that's our job. That's right, Bryce, 100%. And the guys that you watch on CNBC and Bloomberg, the pundits and the money managers who go up there and poo-poo everything and have opinions about markets and oil and telecom stocks and media stocks and quantum stocks and water stocks and everything else. There's no value there. There's no edge you're getting there. And, again, like Bryce, I don't even have a quote machine anymore. I finally did it. You know that. I literally gave Bryce my computer that had the only Windows machine in this office that was plugged in. Well, I guess the simulator has it. The only machine in this office that was plugged in with a quote application on it. I don't have it anymore. I don't look at stock prices on my Mac. I got this big screen here and it's just empty because it used to be my trading screen. If I go on a phone call, I pull up notes so I can look at them while I'm talking. I think that is such an important, Warren Buffett doesn't have a quote machine famously. And that's the whole point, that he doesn't, you ask Warren Buffett about the markets and he'd probably say something similar to us right here. He'd be like, trading a little bit higher PE than historically. That's all I've got for you. There is no, and therefore,
right.
It's so tough to game markets, especially short-term too, right? Then you're like, I think markets are going to trade back down to an 18 PE, or, hey, I think this stock is 20% undervalued. And I will never say that. I will never say that a stock is 20% overvalued or undervalued. That's a rounding error at that point.
Right.
We're looking out 5 years. Is the company going to have explosive growth or not?
And
John,
Bryce, sorry.
Those were my last words. Thanks, Bryce. That was fantastic. Everybody go read that paper, Software is Eating the World. Mark Andreas in 2011. What, did it take you 15, 20 minutes to read, Bryce?
10 minutes.
Yeah, I think he did.
10-minute read officially because I sent it to Craig on Slack.
And that's
and I think he did do an updated AI version.
Did he?
Yeah. Cool.
He should have, because you could almost replace a lot of
I think I remember that. All right, Johnny, last words.
So first, just to comment on Bryce's thing, is like if people say, AI is a bubble, I take that to mean that they're saying that AI is like overblown, overrated. It's talked about so much that everyone's whatever. AI is the most underrated, underutilized technology that we've ever seen. It is just getting going. And already when you look at what it can do, it's mind-blowing as compared to what? As compared to the web, as compared to SaaS, as compared to apps, the App Store, the app revolution. It's not like any of these things. It is totally underrated. So
it's like electricity. That's the analogy I always give. It's the electricity revolution all over again. Like all facets of society will be touched and transformed by AI and robots running AI over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And
if
like,
you don't
this
see
took
that,
120 years, but this will take 10 or 15.
If you don't see that, if you're saying it's a bubble and you have a spare 15 minutes, half an hour, and you haven't been doing it, get into like a ChatGPT or something, and try some things. And after doing that, you still don't see it. Well, just give your money to me, and I'll find something to do with it. But so that's in any case,
there's a religion you can join called the Luddites if you would like to.
If you're really down that
AI.
And then that's my comment on his thing. And then my last word. No, I just it is. I thought of this just from seeing your dog. It is true that your dog is conscious. He's aware. He knows when it's dinner time. There's a lot of things he knows, and none of the AIs know, and they're not going to. It's not like we go, oh, when will AGI happen? And even then, it's about kind of this intelligence of the world and stuff. But what we should be working toward in AI industry, and I'm starting to see, is filling in some of the missing pieces for what I call artificial consciousness. It's like, don't worry about is it conscious or not. Worry about if it can remember what day it is and when the last time it spoke to you is, and that it's been talking to you for a while and you have other things you have to do. And so all time related things and memory related things. And all of this is possible and needs to get some concentration, because it goes into being that sort of surrounding bit of kit that goes with the AI model. So that kind of artificial consciousness is maybe a fancy term, maybe too fancy, but that's the stuff that needs to get kind of filled in there.
All right, my last word's going to be that, look, bubbles don't happen in a vacuum. And even if there are bubblicious elements, and some of the companies spending hundreds of billions are not going to get all their capital back. The fact that the market is doing this is part of what makes AI accelerate and get distributed and get better. And so, I don't know if Tesla is going to be trading at 350 or 550 this time in 6 months or even in a year or two. But if I do know that if Tesla pulls off robo-taxis and then robots over the next 5 to 10 years, the stock is up 10 to 20x from, or even 30x from here. That I do know. And so if I think there's a pretty good chance that they get that pulled off, I want to have my investment buckets out in front of that. And the bubble itself, whether it is, even if there is a bubble and all of these stocks get crushed, the Mag 7 goes down 30, 40, 50%. And the market hates all things related to AI for 2 or 3 years. Literally, we had that with the internet. And what are we doing right here, right now? This entire call, the discussion, it's all being streamed on that internet thing using electricity. And you want to, you bought Amazon at 90, it went down to 5. And now split adjusted. You bought Amazon at $5 per share, it went down to 80 cents, and now it's at 220. So, was there a bubble? Yeah. If you bought the top of the bubble, did it hurt? Yes. If you bought the very best companies in that bubble at the very top of that bubble, do you care? Yeah, you're still going to look back and be like, damn it, I could have made even more money, because that's human nature. But you still made, what is that? Probably a good 500x on Amazon since the year 2000, March 2000, the top. All right. Peace and love. Thanks for being here. John, what's that, Bryce?
I was just going to show the long-term chart on Amazon.
Yeah, do it.
It's a good way to end this right here. Here's your .com bubble peak here somewhere.
Where's the .com bubble?
On there somewhere right there. March 2000. $3 or $4.
Yeah. And then you could have bought it at $1 at the bottom.
Yeah.
October 2002, Bryce. Find that. Those of us who lived through the bubble and the crash.
97
remember it.
cents, yeah.
97
92
cents.
cents,
So you
85.
got a 220x. If you bought the bottom, if you bought the top of the bubble, you have a, what is it, 80x. It worked out.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, be careful out there. There is a lot of grift. There are scams. There are silly stocks. There's a lot of stuff that is going to zero. Thousands of stocks. Every 5 years, thousands of publicly traded stocks go to zero. And that will be true over the next 5 years. AI bubble, AI crash, AI revolution or not. That stuff happens. So be careful, but don't think that AI is not going to change society and the world forever. Thanks, everybody. That's the AI call today. Bryce, Craig, Johnny, appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.